Good evening, everyone. The final match of the group stage of the 1975 Cricket World Cup was played today, match 30. The final match of the group stage and the final match in Group 2, India versus England. This will be a match that would decide who would finish first, second and third in the groups. A victory for India would set them up to finish in the top two and possibly avoid West Indies and New Zealand up into the final. If England won, they'd set up a Kenyan match. But this is what happened at Leeds today. As you can see, an absolute bizarre game of cricket and a record-breaking game of cricket as well. Sorry, I'm struggling to get the thing going. England won the toss on a damp pitch at Leeds and elected to bat first. Some people thought that was a gamble, but Mike Dinesh said we've struggled chasing throughout this tournament, especially in the last two matches against Holland and Sri Lanka. We've got to really set ourselves going. And what a performance they produced. A record-breaking performance. The second time that a record's been broken on this ground. The opening match of the tournament was played at Leeds and Pakistan scored a world record 330 for 6. England topped that by 4 runs and scored 334 for 4 from their 50 overs. The highest ever score in a one-day international. So Leeds has been part of a world record highest score by a team twice now. Fantastic performance. A returning John Jameson hit 21. There was 4 for Tony Greig, who continued his struggles. But look at that from the other 4 batsmen. They were absolutely awesome today and just played so well. 68 off 80 deliveries for Keith Fletcher, his first 50 of the competition. Dennis Amiss, 137 off 126 deliveries, his highest ever score in one-day internationals. The highest score by an England batsman in a one-day international. And his second century of the tournament, joining Glenn Turner of New Zealand and Alan Turner of Australia as the third batsman scored 200s in the same tournament. 36 off 20 for Mike Dinesh and 51 of just 30 deliveries for Chris Old. Really launched themselves so they hit that record score. The bowling figures for India don't read at all well. 83 for 0, the most expensive figures ever from Karsan Ghafi. 60 for 1 for Mohinder Armanaf. Why do I keep calling him Mohammed, for goodness sake? I think he's moved on 7 wickets in the tournament, but his average has gone up from 11 now to about 16. 12 for 0 for Ankaf Solkar. 41 for 0 for Shri Venkakaran. The 2 fast bowlers, Madan Lal 64 for 1, 58 for 2 for Abid Ali, bowled well, but realistically they got whacked all over the place. England were in so much control. However, the response from India was so bizarre. It was unbelievable. They batted for the full 50 overs and only scored 132 for 4. Some of the most bizarrest batting you've ever seen. They basically conceded defeat straight away. I mean, on that pitch, you could have scored 200, in my opinion, and avoided. They've lost the match by 202 runs, as we'll see in a moment. But their response was so negative. It was unbelievable. 8 off 24 for Ankaf Solkar. 22 off 40 balls for Ansuman Gaywad, who actually was the only positive one. 37 off 90 deliveries for Gurnapa Vishnath. 12 off Brijesh Patel, 12 off 50 deliveries. He batted very negatively and got out with about 4 balls remaining. 1 off 4 deliveries for Mohinder Armanaf, who came out and batted right at the end. I mean, Sunil Gavaskar, the third batsman to bat throughout the innings. I mean, Glenn Turner got 172 not out off of 140 odd delivery, off about 153 deliveries against Kenya in New Zealand's opening match. The Holland batsman against England a few days ago hit 20 off 80 deliveries. 37 off 143 deliveries for Sunil Gavaskar. He got booed off the pitch. It's in this match, and the Indian team were booed off the pitch. Shri Venkakaran didn't even speak after the match to Jim Laker. after the match, he just walked away, received a check and walked away, so he could get fined for that, and he hasn't come out to talk to the press after the game. Presumably, he is either fuming or he doesn't understand really on how what it is. They're all tidy, but they all struggle to get wickets. 26 for naught for the leading for 26 for naught for Sorry, I keep on forgetting names. So flipping frustrating. 26 for naught for Tony Greig. The first time this tournament that he hasn't taken a wicket. 10 wickets in the tournament still. 1 for 26 for Chris Old. 5 for naught for Barry Wood. 3 for naught for Adam Knott. Yes, Adam Knott came on for a bowl, and John Jameson took the gloves for about 3 overs. 1 for 20 for Jeff Arnold. It's amazing that he missed the match against Holland and Australia, because he's got 8 wickets in just 3 matches. 1 for 16 for Peter Lever and 1 for 24 for John Snow. It looked like he was going to go wicketless for the 3rd time in 4 matches in this World Cup, but he took a wicket. He's got 3 wickets in 4 games now, which still isn't good, but his average will go down due to the fact he only got whacked for 24 runs. Staggering effort from India, bizarre effort. The final summary: England won the toss on a damp pitch at Leeds in overcast conditions, elected to bat. They scored a world record 334 for the 2nd time that the world record score by a team has been broken at Leeds. India's response was to bat up before 50 overs, 132 for 4. England winning by 202 runs, the 3rd biggest margin of victory ever in one day international, the 3rd 200 win in this World Cup, and the 3rd 200 win in one-day international cricket. Unsurprisingly, man of the match, 137 off 126 deliveries. Dennis Amiss, the 2nd time he's won man of the match. That was absolutely bizarre from India. Totally bizarre. And as we will confirm, let's just save this game first, because we're going to have a look at the 2 teams. We're going to have a look at the 2 groups. As you can see, Group 2, England 5 wins out of 5 win the group. Australia 2nd in the group, 8 points. India 3rd, Sri Lanka 4th, Holland 5th, and Rhodesia bottom. England qualified for the quarterfinals in style. What does this do for India? It means that if you have a look at that, go to Group 1, see how that ended. West Indies finished for 5 wins out of 5. That emphatic win yesterday. New Zealand 2nd in the group. Pakistan 3rd in the group. Kenya 4th. UAE and the rebel South African 11 out of the tournament. It means West Indies will play the first quarter-final will be West Indies versus Sri Lanka. The 2nd quarter-final will be New Zealand versus India. The 3rd quarter-final will be Pakistan versus Australia, and the 4th quarter-final will be Kenya versus England. Save the thing so I can just confirm what we saw. Now, knockout cricket: West Indies, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, India, Pakistan, Australia, Kenya versus England. The winners, as you can see now, winners of West Indies, Sri Lanka will play the winners of New Zealand versus India. The winners of Pakistan versus Australia will play the winners of Kenya versus England. So realistically, West Indies and New Zealand could play each other again, and Pakistan and England and Australia and England, could play each other again in the semi-finals. That's what happens when you finish 1st and 2nd. You cannot avoid each other until the semi-finals. So obviously that's saved. Let's have a look at the England and India averages. They're not going to read too. Obviously, Farouk Engineer didn't bat today, so he ain't going to have too much to. His average ain't really going to be improved, but you're going to see an improvement from Dennis Amiss. But let's have a look at the Indian batsman so far. His average has actually gone up to 45, and Dennis Amiss's average has gone up to 66. But you've got 2 wickets now. Abid Ali, 10 wickets in 5 matches, an average of 18. His average did go up, though. He did get whacked a bit. That's the only sign of any improvement at all. Farouk Engineer, obviously. 3 wickets in 4 matches for Jon Snow. He nearly went wicketless for the third time in 4 matches, but he took a wicket right at the end. And 265 runs at an average 66 for Dennis Amiss. His 137 was absolutely brilliant. Bizarre effort from India. Really appalling effort. They got booed off the pitch. As I said, the captain, Suri Venkakaran, didn't talk to Jim Laker after the match. He just walked off after seeing his check. He ain't talked to the media afterwards. Utterly appalling effort from India. And now they've got a tough match against New Zealand in the second quarter-final. My predictions in a moment. Tomorrow's match, or a match in a couple of days' time, West Indies versus Sri Lanka. West Indies should win that comfortably after their devastating performance against New Zealand the other day, which won them Group 1. They'll be red-hot favourites to win that. India, New Zealand's too tough to call, but on that performance from India, New Zealand will be red-hot favourites against India. Pakistan, Australia is going to be the best of the 4 quarter-finals. Pakistan didn't play well against Rebel South African 11. Lucky to get a thrilling 7-run victory in one of the best games of the competition. Australia played decently against Holland, bowled exceptionally well against the Dutch, but they didn't bat too well. So that's a 50-50 game. I can't predict that. And obviously Kenya versus England. England on that batting performance should beat Kenya. So I predict it will be West Indies, New Zealand and England in the semi-finals, and one of Pakistan versus Australia. I can't pick yet. We'll see you for the first quarter-final between West Indies versus Sri Lanka in a couple of days' time. Until then, this is me, Lawrence Howard, reporting on the 1975 Cricket World Cup being played on Brian Lara in England. It's a goodbye for you all, and we'll see you for the first quarter-final in a couple of days' time. Bye-bye, everyone.